All righty. We have a great show today. Hey, one of the things we're going to be going over is it's about brown fat, and we're going to spend a lot of time on this in the next really several weeks and throughout the time that we speak about. One of the things that we're here for you is to bring you the most significant research and news for creating your most beautiful, healthy life. And we talk about that. We do this every Thursday at 12 noon. And by the way, and when I say you can see that I just came in, I was at a meeting. I normally don't have a sport coat on. I do because I was meeting with some people to go over a few things. But, our goal is for you to always give you the tools. So there's certain foods that you can eat that'll help you in certain challenges. There are certain things that you can do that can help certain challenges. But the one thing that we know that when it comes to obesity, when it comes to really diabetes, fatty liver, visceral fat, improving insulin sensitivity, one of the things that comes into play is brown fat. We'll talk about there's three types of fat. There's the white fat cells, the beige fat cells, and the brown fat. And so we're going to go into this more. And one of the things I would really appreciate that you come on, you like our page, you go to NutriMost.com, like our Facebook page, which is NutriMost USA, and share it. As many people as you can to help share it. We really want to get this information out for those of you who do not know me. I am Dr. Ray Wisniewski. I am the founder and CEO of NutriMost Wellness and Weight Loss. And NutriMost has really evolved into being a company to really help you create your most beautiful, healthy life in a number of different ways. We're going to show you the different foods that you can use, the supplements that may help. And it's all about how do you gain that edge. And so let's review. Today's going to be a sort of an introductory to our process when we talk about and anyone who ever wants to get a hold of us, you can always go to call 855-NutriMost. That's 855-688-7466. You can also go online to NutriMost.com. You can leave us emails. You can message us. If you want to do a program, you can go on and find out some information. But we're really here to help you. We're here to help guide you. There are offices throughout the country. But really it comes out to that people don't know this information, and I've spent my life trying to get this information out. And the best way to do it, and we know the best way to do it, is for you to help us, for you to share, for you to share your experiences, for you to share this with a number of different people. And we really ask that you like us, that you Facebook, whether it be on Facebook, whether go to our website, and just share this information. But let's get into some of the stuff that we'll be talking about. We talk about the fact that this is an overview, and again, and by the way, you're going to be able to. We're going to put this all together in a really easy way for you to see some of these this information into a new website that's coming up, which is NutriMost Science, and it will be the latest science and the latest discoveries. But let's just take a look. First, before I do that, I just want to point out you can go to NutriMost USA on Facebook. You can visit the NutriMost support page on Facebook. That is a member only. You can just ask to go on there. You can watch any of our live streams. We are every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I do a simultaneous broadcast with KDK Radio, and it is live stream on Facebook. You're better off to go watch it live stream on Facebook because we show some images, we show some pictures, and instead of just talking, you can actually get to see that. And we continue through the breaks, which makes it much, much better. And then every Thursday at 12 noon, we may be extending those as well. But let's just take a look at brown fat. Number one, we have to say, okay, so what does it do? What's the difference? And here's the thing. The difference is that there's white fat that is basically its job is to store energy. And then you have brown fat whose job is to rapidly generate heat. It's to expend energy. And when we take a look at this, we know that the brown fat has been shown to help people overcome diabetes, overcome obesity. In fact, by the way, one of the things in one study, they did transplants of people who had of brown fat into those that were type 1 diabetic. So just think about this. So they took embryonic brown fat and transplanted it into, and by the way, these weren't on people, I believe it was on mice. But what they found was that it restored glucose sensitivity. It restored insulin sensitivity and glucose tolerance. And basically, there was at least a 50% success rate. And they said in the future, it may actually be a way to cure this. So we do know that it has the ability to really do some amazing things. We know that those people who have the most brown fat are lean. People who have a high BMI actually have the least amount of brown fat. We're going to go through that. But you have to remember that basically human babies are born with brown fat, and we used to think that there wasn't brown fat in adults, and that turns out to be not to be true. And then they thought that they knew how much we had, and it turns out that according to the latest research, there's about 3 times more than what we thought. We'll go through that because it still is it's a small amount, but we're going to show you how that small amount, how many calories that it actually burns. I mean, it's really just a whopping amount. The other animals that have a large amount of brown fat are the hibernating animals, like bears. They store a ton of this brown fat. And they do it for the same reason, because it generates heat. So while they're hibernating, so you need a lot of brown fat. And the babies had brown fat because of the fact that one of the things that is a problem for a baby is to defend itself from the cold and frostbite. So it was thought that you had it as a baby and then it basically disappeared. And we find that that's not true. But we're going to go through and tell you a little bit about that. But let me just tell you, I'll give you a few teases on this. And one is that just 2 ounces of brown fat burn about 200 calories per day when the temperature drops just a little bit. And that's one of the things. Since it protects us from the cold by generating heat, that's one of the things. Cold thermogenesis is able to actually activate that brown fat. So, and that's another aspect of this. There's the aspect of how do you increase brown fat. Then there's how do you activate your brown fat. So let's go back and take a look at some of these questions. We're going to be answering all of those, and some of them we'll answer today. Some we'll answer in the upcoming future, because there's just so much information here. So we went through and we said, so how can brown fat help your health? Well, one of the things we know that when you increase brown fat, you decrease obesity. So look at how many complications there are from obesity. But we know that you decrease diabetes. In fact, like I said, you can overcome diabetes, and according to some of the studies, type 2 diabetes, if you can activate or increase and activate this brown fat, we know that you can fatty liver disease goes way down when you take a look at this. So there's all kinds of different chemicals, and throughout this period of time, we're going to go through some of these, because there's a protein called casein kinase 2, or CK2, which is responsible for preventing white fat from actually burning energy to create heat when the body gets cold. And they find out that actually if you can decrease this, that you can actually turn up and turn on that fat burning. You can basically turn on that energy expenditure, and just the same as the brown fat and the beige fat. And so that actually turned out to be a new study that was a surprise. It turns out that there's a protein called FLCN, and what that we know about that is that's part of the browning program, and it's found that it suppresses you know what, I don't want to get too much into too much of this, because we start to get into these like TFE3, mTOR, FGF21, adenosine. There's a signal pathway messenger called cyclic guanosine phosphate, which is cGMP, and that's actually absolutely necessary to brown fat. But there's things that prevent that. And so one of the things what we need to do is say, okay, so we have all these different things that can activate fat burning, even AMP, protein activated kinase pathways, that can activate it. So let's get into this. So where is it located? Well, first, as I said, we talked about the fact that it was located in the, that it was pretty much at first only babies were thought to have it. So in an adult, they didn't think we had it. Well, it turns out that we do have it. So where is it located primarily in adults? Well, you'll be surprised about this. It's primarily actually behind the area of the neck and the shoulder, and even more that the most is what they call the supraclavicular area. So right where the clavicle is, your collarbone, right above that into the neck. So there's not too much. So how much of this is there? Well, it used to be thought that there's somewhere around 3 to 3.5 ounces. Sometimes some people are very low, 2 ounces to 3 ounces. Well, the latest studies on about 3,000 people with using PET scans has shown that we have about 10 ounces. So let's go back to that. Remember, just 2 ounces of this will burn about 200 calories per day. So if you have if you have 10 ounces of this, that's an awful lot. That's an awful lot of calories that are being expended and being burned. So when you look at that and you understand that, hey, if we can just turn this on, and as I said earlier, they've shown that even with transplants and type 1 diabetes, just unbelievable. So we look at what are some of the things that can increase it. Well, we find out there's a number of things that can increase it. There's a number of things that can decrease it. One of the things that decreases it, by the way, is inflammation. And one of the things with the inflammation is tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNF alpha. That has been shown that it actually decreases this and interferes with the pathway. And when we take a look at these different pathways that you can use it, when you interfere with those pathways to produce the conversion of white fat into brown fat, then that's going to shut that down. Wow, what's one of the things that increases tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNF? It's inflammation. Which inflammation? The white adipocytes, white fat, actually produces certain enzymes, it's really an endocrine organ. And I've talked about that. Well, one of the things that it creates is an increase in TNF. So people that have especially a big belly, increase TNF, decrease the brown fat. And, that's one of the things they've shown that they said, why can one person, I've been saying this for so long. I said a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie. And the researchers, and what we're going to do in upcoming shows, we're going to focus on just one item because I talk about some of the overall research on this. And we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at what did they actually say? What was the study? Because they spend a lot of money, a lot of time. Some of these people have been studying this for a long period of time. And by the way, some of these factors that are, like one of the things that we know that definitely stimulates weight loss, stimulates improved glucose metabolism, helps the insulin sensitivity, and that's FGF21, fibroblast growth factor 21, especially produced in the liver. We know that this regulates lipid metabolism. Well, one of the things that it does is it has been shown to actually be a major portion of activating this brown fat. And so the researchers have shown that they say, why does one person just eat like one extra slice of cake and they're going to pound on the pounds? You take another person, it seems like they can gorge themselves. They can eat all kinds of stuff. They can have way extra calories, and they don't. Well, it turns out that those people have more brown fat. And so these are the things that we want to see. These are the things we want to review. So what was the other thing that I went? How can we increase brown fat? Well, we talked about a couple of those right off. One of the things that we can do to increase brown fat is that we can use cold. Cold stimulates that. So if you're sleeping in a colder room, it's going to help stimulate brown fat. If you exercise in the cold, it's going to increase brown fat. One of the things that we know is that if the brown fat has more mitochondria, the brown fat has a unique protein, and that we put together some of the things why we created some of the products that we did, why we have in some of the products is all about this one protein, and that is UCP1, uncoupling protein 1. I mean, it's just, and it has been just amazing. Now, there's certain foods that can actually increase your brown fat. What are some of those foods? Well, one food is eating apples, the peel, especially the peel. You have to have the peel on it, though. You want the peel. And we do certain things. We'll tell people to do to eat apples, and they'll say, and one of the things is that there's your solic acid is found in the peels of apples. Well, your solic acid has been shown to reduce obesity. It's been shown to increase muscle mass. It's been shown to increase brown fat. And all that has been shown to decrease diabetes. It's been shown to decrease fatty liver. So those are things that you can do. You can do the NET4. You can do things to stimulate melatonin, because we find that melatonin is also one of the things that can increase the stimulation of this brown adipose tissue. A lot of times it's called, by the way, BAT, or brown fat. And so we can do our NET4 exercises. You want to have to stimulate melatonin. And by the way, there are different foods that do contain small amounts of melatonin. And one of the things is we have our NutriMost Intelligence. One of the things that we do with NutriMost Intelligence, we take these factors into account. And so one of the things that we know is that when we know that there are these foods like certain berries, almonds, there's certain spices, cardamom, fennel. We know that nuts like almonds and sunflower seeds, some coriander, cherries. There's a lot. We're going to go through all the foods that can do this, because it's not. There's foods that actually prevent it. Foods that, and by the way, those foods don't stimulate melatonin. They actually have some melatonin. There is a plant-based melatonin, and so we do know about that. But there are some other things that can actually increase and we'll go through each of the studies that do this. One of the things that they talk about is, and people will ask, when we do our programs, a lot of times we want to make sure we support the kidney. And they're like, why? Well, there's creatinine clearance. And creatinine clearance has been really shown to be one of the largest variables that affect brown fat, that you have to have proper creatinine clearance. We know that you have to have proper circulation. See, the brown fat uses a lot more oxygen because you're converting this energy, and for that energy, you're going to need some of that oxygen. You're going to need more oxygen. So we want to have a good circulation. So we find out that not only does the brown fat tends to have way better circulation, but when you increase circulation, you actually improve brown fat. So it goes both ways. And these are just really amazing things that we can do. There's certain adenosine has been shown to stimulate brown fat. We know that I talked about FGF21, and there's things that we can do to stimulate that FGF21. And so those are all things. And by the way, when we put together our programs, And you'll hear, I've been talking about, just think about this. FGF21 and some of these, and some of these protein, some of these things like UCP1, FGF21, I mean, this is a very important circulating hormone. And 10 years ago, no one ever even knew it existed, basically. I mean, it's a relatively, it's not relatively new, it's extremely new. I mean, when we go back as far as what we now know. And I have been talking about this from the time we started NutriMost, basically. And you'll hear me repetitively. I talk about the fact that it's a molecular, you have to look at everything from three different perspectives. There's the molecular perspective, the cellular perspective, and there is the metabolic perspective. And they're all interrelated, but it's really getting these moving in the right direction that it changes everything. So, do I have something else on here? Let me just see here. Did I hit everything? Where is it located? We went through that. How much do we have? We went through that. How can we increase it? We went through that. And how can we activate it? And those are all things that we can activate. And we talked about some of the things that increase it actually activate it as well. And basically, when you start to take a look at this and you start to take a look at the signaling pathways, I think you're going to find out that there are things that we can do today that we had no idea about. Oh, you know what? I missed. There's one that there's one substance that has been shown to convert that excess white fat into the beige fat. And we're going to go into this a lot more each time and just provide a lot of strategies and a lot of information about that. So I recommend that you come back, and we're going to be talking about this a lot. And one of those things is resveratrol. And I'm big on that. I'm big on resveratrol. There is a study that shows how resveratrol activates that AMP activated protein kinase pathway, alpha 1. There's a couple different pathways within that. And that pathway has been shown to help convert that white fat into the beige fat, and which is basically, if you can do that, that's just amazing. So when we're looking at things like converting the white fat into the beige fat or into the brown fat, and let me just explain. By the way, the beige fat is within the white fat throughout the body. It's within the white adipocytes. There's these beige adipocytes, and they found out. And that, again, this is new. It used to be that there was two types of fat: good fat and bad fat. There was the white fat and the brown fat, and there's this balance. And if you can, and people who are able to have good BMIs, and that's one of the things. When you lower that BMI, when you balance the body, you actually increase the amount of brown fat, and you increase the percentage dramatically. So you're burning white fat, and your body's just using all this. Well, what they found out is that when people had large amounts of resveratrol, for instance, it was basically that they were able to, they showed these mice that they made them so that they would gain a ton of weight. Well, the mice that were taking the resveratrol, even though they had the same calories, they would basically gain 40% less weight. Some of those still gained weight. And the reality of it is, if you can't look at this as some magic pill that you're going out, you can take something that's in the medical community is constantly trying to find that magic pill that they're going to interrupt a certain pathway. They're going to cut that pathway. They're going to stimulate some other pathway to produce more fat burning. It doesn't work that way. Because what happens is you're going to damage something else. You can't just go in and block something. What you want to use is the way the body works and move it. You just want to move the needle. If you can just shift that needle a little bit towards one direction, it's going to help dramatically. But here's the thing, that if you have a bad lifestyle, if you're eating the wrong foods, you will still overcome all these things. You can do a lot of different things. And in the same way as reverse, if you have the genes that's going to for obesity. If you have genes, you're going to tend to be have a higher preponderance for heart disease or higher preponderance for diabetes. Yeah, you have the gene. You can overcome that, and that's the whole field of epigenetics. That's the whole field that they've found that when you do things right, you can actually, your lifestyle changes can overcome whatever it is genetically. And by the way, we see that, if it was just the genes, then again, from 1990, you had 10% obesity. Today, closer to 35, 40% obesity in some areas. The genes were the same. They were the same. It's our lifestyle that's changed. It's the foods that we're eating that's changed. It's the disruption of these pathways by various chemicals. Alrighty, let me just see how long we went. That's wow, much longer than I expected. I'm sorry, I wanted this to be like just a 5-10 minute overview, but I went through and basically the overview was a very in-depth regarding what this actually is. How do we overcome these challenges? And so I'm very glad that you joined us today. And this is all about brown fat. It's about overcoming so many of these health challenges that includes fatty liver, that includes diabetes, it includes metabolic syndrome, which is high blood pressure, the gaining of the weight. We can overcome these when we do things the right way. Please like us. Please share this. Please get this information out. Please pay attention. Become actively engaged in your health and in the health of the people that you love. And I ask you to do that. People do not have this information. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. Have a super spectacular day as we help you create your most beautiful, healthy life.